And we want to put this as the preamble, a key concept so basically it's going to be it's not going to be in sequential order, but in the tradition, this Vedic tradition of Sanatana Dharma, there's no impetus towards conversion. So there's no belief that in order to save your soul, you need to convert. The way it is seen from our perspective is that, look, whether someone's an atheist, they're Christian, they're followers of Islam, or any other branch, basically doesn't matter, because all the human beings and everything that exists form one single reality. So we don't really believe, there's no idea that you need to convert to one path or the other, or else you're lost. So in the realm of this Dharmic Vedic science, everything is embraced. So whether someone's an atheist, whether someone's a theist, they follow Christianity, they follow Islam, they follow Buddhism, other Dharmic traditions, it all forms one reality, the one core reality of pure consciousness. So this is, and if you look at the ancient tradition within India, Christianity has been there since the 1st century. There's this idea that why didn't other religions take root? Because if you look at the cultural familiarity, the old world has been familiar with many different traditions. So the idea that basically there being a modern missionary push, that's a misconception. These ancient civilizations have been broadly knowledgeable of all these different traditions, accepting of all, with prejudice towards none. Good evening. Just a general science and spirituality reflection. So there's this conception, and probably it's not misguided, that basically some traditions might take a view that is antithetical towards biological evolution, that there's this juxtaposition of science and this idea, spiritual concepts of this contradiction of evolution, basically from the primordial soup. The geological history, it's a very old universe. The universe created, the inception of the universe, stellar evolution. Many stars had to be born and had to die to give way to heavier elements. And from these heavier elements, planets could finally be formed. So from a spiritual, even science, purely atheistic standpoint, there's no reason to be afraid of the decay of the body. New life is always regenerating, and you look at the quantum field, everything is connected. So nothing is really, this whole idea, it's more philosophical. This is alive versus dead. Take a look at all the matter that exists, all the energy. If you look at the pure energy world, there's no such thing. It's kind of preposterous to say this node of energy, node of consciousness, this is living, this is inanimate. We see it as a continuum, the animate to the animate. So even from a pure atheistic standpoint, we don't fear death at all. But we want to do a reflection. So basically, with different comparative religion, there's this idea that human beings, if made in the divine image of God, would be incompatible with the biological evolution. But if we follow any spiritual concepts, we follow elements. We do follow elements of Sanatana Dharma, or elements of this Vedic tradition or Hinduism. In this spiritual wide camp, there's no conflict between stellar evolution and the idea of creation and evolution. There's no juxtaposition that if human beings evolved even from the primordial soup, there's a continual chain of evolution. Without the first organic life, without the reptiles, the dinosaurs, there's a stage. Forms of life give way to new forms of life. So in this camp, there's no contradiction that between this concept of spirituality, human beings basically evolving, devolving, striving towards oneness integration. There's no contradiction with human beings, the evolution of man, and the spiritual dwelling, the spiritual inclinations of man towards a higher level of pure consciousness. So we want to say this. Um, so, so some traditions might take a view in opposition. This is evolution. It's in contradiction to the divine image. But from a dharmic perspective, we have no problem with that. We have no problem with stellar evolution. The Earth being very old, the universe 13.75 is a billion years old, and other traditions, practitioners of basically there was a mystical practitioner of basically from Judaism, the sacred tradition that calculated the age of the universe to approximately 13.75 billion years. So we want to say that if people look at faith and religion, it's not necessarily, you have to take a broader perspective. And so spiritually, we follow primarily Sanatana Dharma.